the painter of Ibero-America, the movie. If we do not have the strength to grasp our hands with everyone's hands, if we do not have the tenderness to hold in our arms the children of the world, if we do not have the will to clear the earth of all its armies, this small planet will be a dry and black body in a black space. Osvaldo Guayasamín. Osvaldo Guayasamín comes from a very humble home. He was born in Quito on the 6th of July in 1919. He was the first of 10 children. His father was a pure indigenous, and his mother was a mestiza. By 6 years old, Guayasamín started painting, and by 1941, he graduated from the School of Fine Arts in Quito. Since his early beginnings, Osvaldo Guayasamín experienced first-handed the outrageous discrimination towards the indigenous people, towards his race. Osvaldo Guayasamín remembers his childhood with a bittersweet taste. He remembers that he was isolated because of his indigenous last name. In fact, his first memory of a joyful moment is him sitting on the ground trying to paint the Castel Sant'Angelo. One of the events that profoundly marked him was the death of his best friend of last name Manjarres. He died when the war named Los Cuatro Días was taking place in Quito. Hundreds of people died in the war, but when he found his best friend lying on the ground, swollen, his skin looking pale, he just stopped believing in so many things, simply because children must not die. In memory of Manjarres, he painted one of his famous artwork, The Dead Children. Osvaldo Guayasamín made friends with some of the most relevant people of his time, such as Pablo Neruda, Gabriel García Márquez, Salvador Allende, Gabriela Mistral, and Rigoberta Menchú. Nonetheless, one person that impressed him the most, that he considered a bigger and way more relevant political character than Simón Bolívar, was Fidel Castro. Osvaldo Guayasamín was a passionate supporter of communism. His support was driven by that desired Latin American union he always dreamed about. Moreover, one of the artists that influenced Guayasamín and that he deeply admired was Goya, not only because of his pieces of art, but because of how rigid was his position as an artist. He never doubted to expose his reality through his platform, through art. Hence why Osvaldo was more confident to adopt a rigid posture to show to everyone the Latin American reality. Regarding his art, Osvaldo Guayasamín's style is divided into what he called a balance between skin outside and skin inside, with the skin inside being all of his experiences and incidents that had caused a commotion in his life, and skin outside referring to the outside world. He divided his art pieces into three periods: Huacañán, the Trail of Tears, the Age of Rage, and the Tenderness. First of all, for the creation of Huacañán, the Trail of Tears, he traveled for 2 years through all Latin America, drawing every scenario that could later be portrayed in his paintings. 103 art pieces are divided as a symphony. First, it talks about the era of the indigenous. Second, about the mestizos. And lastly, about the black people. And 3 portraits. A portrait of his father, that despite he was so harsh with Guayasamín during his childhood, he was the one that made him strong. Guayasamín holds no hard feelings towards his father. In fact, he says that part of his success is because of him, because he was the one that made him strong. It also includes a portrait of a man that significantly helped him through his journey, and a self-portrait. Secondly, he started the Age of Rage, which for research and inspiration, he uninterruptedly traveled for 7 years through some of the most conflictive places in the world. He went to Hiroshima, the concentration camps in Germany, and more. He worked on this 260 pieces of art collection for about 25 years. It certainly was a more ambitious project than the previous one, and it was considered as one of the greatest achievements in the 20th century painting. Guayasamín's last series, The Age of Tenderness, or as he liked to refer to, As Long as I Live, I Always Remember You. It was an homage to his mother, who died at the young age of 34 because of all her hard work. For this cycle, he painted over 100 works between 1988 and his death on March 10, 1999. Furthermore, Guayasamín created a museum in Quito. He considered that he couldn't be selfish with his country. He had the moral obligation to give his work to where everything began. Not only his own pieces of art will be exposed, but also colonial art that he had bought. He even wished that one day someone will buy the art pieces from the Huacañán series and reunite all of his work. It is in his museum that his masterpiece and dream can be found, Chapel of Men. It rose as a response to the need of pay tribute to the human being, to his town and his identity. It began in 1985 and wasn't completed after he died. Its murals speak and proclaim the cultural, political, and social values of America, from prehistory through the conquest and today. It has great symbolism, and it evokes the cultural resistance to the alienation, the permanence and persistence of our cosmovision and fundamental values as ethnics and as culture. It was declared by UNESCO as a priority project for culture and by the former National Congress as cultural heritage of the Ecuadorian state. All in all, Osvaldo Boyasamin, one of Ecuador's most renowned painters and social critics, one of the greatest exponents in Latin American painting, the one that globalized the concept of Ibero-America, eminent painter and sculptor, kind of rigid and hard antenna that insensibly collects, at the same time, the crying, the joy, the love, the hate, and the tenderness of the time. He was a powerful communicator of the anguish of his people, simply because he lived it. Such characters never die. And, as he mentioned, keep a light burning, for I will always return.